Experience the future of packaging and processing up close and in action. Explore groundbreaking innovations, engage with hands-on solutions, and connect with the experts transforming the industry. See how these advancements can revolutionize your products, production lines, and business. It all starts here. Don't miss out. Register today at packexpolasvegas.com/unpackedpod. You're listening to Unpacked with PMMI, where we share the latest packaging and processing industry insights, research, and innovations to help you advance your business. Hi, I'm Sean Riley, and welcome to another edition of Unpacked with PMMI. Most PACK EXPO Forum sessions involve discussions and Q&As on trends or issues that need addressing in the packaging and processing industry. Each day, as a bonus to attendees, I sit down with two of our esteemed editors from PMMI Media Group to talk about actual solutions from the show floor that attendees can stop by and take a look at. Since everyone can't get to every booth, Matt Reynolds from Packaging World magazine, Stephanie Neal from OEM, and myself also share the podcast after the fact. For those who may have missed the show or exhibitors who just want to know what is popping up in the industry. Let's have a listen.
Welcome to the Daily Download. Most forum sessions usually involve discussions on things that are happening in the industry. The beauty of this forum session is we have two of our esteemed editors from PMMI Media Group, and they're going to talk about actual solutions that they have seen out on the show floor that you can stop by and take a look at while you're here. And for those of you online, you can visit their online booths or you can go to their websites to find out about some of this information. To my immediate right, I have Matt Reynolds from Packaging World magazine, and next to him, Stephanie Neal from OEM. So I guess to kick things off, Matt, I guess just give us, you've been out there for a couple hours. What have you seen so far at PACK EXPO East?
Yeah, well, 3 hours isn't a whole lot of time to get a real pulse of the show. But one thing that we knew that was occurring even prior to the show was sustainability is on every brand's brain. Basically, they're working towards goals of 2025 or 2030 to make these. They made these goals for sustainability claims. So they need materials that are going to be more recyclable. So a lot of folks on the show floor are demonstrating new materials, films that are monolayer as opposed to their predecessors, which might have been multi-layer laminates, because they're more easily recyclable. One I saw out there is Zacros. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I might not be pronouncing it correctly, but basically they're going from what used to be a multi-layer laminate structure to a monolayer PE, polyethylene. I think it's low density stuff that they worked on in Japan with Procter & Gamble, and the brand is Pantene. We all know the hair care brand. So this is a refill pouch that they're actually demonstrating. So it would be a durable, reusable package that they're using over and over again, and then the pouch itself with spout is refillable, or it uses a refill pouch, and again that can be recycled more easily because it's all polyethylene, it's all one material. Even the spout itself can be placed with a high density stuff, so it's going into the same recycling stream. So a lot of people are struggling with sustainability. A lot of new films are out there. There's other materials too. Veritiv is working on. We all know of, like, let's say HelloFresh or Blue Apron, these meal kits. They've had trouble because there's a lot of packaging that's involved, and consumers recognize that. So Veritiv has actually put together, the company that they're working with is called StoraPack, and they have starch insulated panels. So these panels are designed to go inside the corrugated case, and with the assistance of a refrigerant, so some sort of a cooler or something like that, like an ice cooler, be able to maintain the cold chain for food in these kinds of meal kit situations. So again, a lot of new materials on the show floor worth checking out.
And I know that's a huge issue with the meal kits. Everybody was especially during the pandemic, or the height of the pandemic, everybody was doing a lot of cooking at home, and everybody was embracing the, like you said, the HelloFreshes. I don't want to leave out any of the brand names. But as you also added, everything comes in its own individual package. So it was literally 5 times as much trash, for lack of a better word, as you would have after a regular cooking a meal. And I know that that was something that was an issue. So I'm sure there's going to be people here looking for those types of solutions. Now, Steph, you're a little more machinery-based with OEM Magazine. So what have you seen out there from a machine standpoint?
Well, I like to tackle the show like I tackle the grocery store and go on the outer aisles first, which is exactly what I did. And I found this startup called Two-Door Intelligence, and they are a bunch of MIT researchers who were trying to solve a problem around pick and place. And they were studying robot intelligence, and they have developed some vision software that can work with cobots and with any gripper. And there's no programming needed. It's very much a drag and drop menu type of thing. And the interesting thing here is not only can it work with different materials, they're showing some candies, different shapes and sizes, and picking and placing it, but you can start it up in minutes. He says it's just as easy as starting up a printer, but they're also going to rent these out. So it's going to solve a workforce problem if you don't have people on the line and you want to get a robot in there quickly. You can bring it in and within a couple of minutes have it going. You can programming it, and it's an intelligence that will learn. I mean, it keeps learning as you teach it, but it's really supposed to, more than anything, solve a workforce problem.
So we're going to be positive and not say someone got sick, but if Bob's going on vacation for a week,
yeah,
I can bring this tutor robot in and fill Bob's role for while he's sunning.
Yeah, because ultimately, even though it is vision software and it is a robot, they're calling themselves a robot staffing agency. So they have pilot projects now. They're here to find some new customers. And it's really sort of a dynamic company, so I'd encourage everybody to go take a look. The other company that I stumbled across was Winexia, and they're based right here in Pennsylvania. They're a machine builder and a systems integrator, and in 2021, they started a robot division, and you know them, Sean.
Yes.
You've talked to them, you've written about them, but they came out with a cobot palletizer, which is for heavy lifting, so it can lift up to 38-pound packages. And again, I'm told this is to solve a workforce issue because you want to take people off of those mundane tasks that can be dangerous because if you're lifting heavy packages, and again, it's easy to set up and use. So that seems to be a theme, being able to set these robots up really quickly, and those are the two main robot things that I saw that would really pique my interest.
The thing that gets lost with, we people in the industry know this, but kind of in the mainstream is that the robots are here to replace people and put them out of work versus what you just explained, the robot's actually coming in and it's taking the place of doing jobs that people don't want to be involved with doing, that are dangerous, that are dirty, that is, like you said, mundane, repetitive, things that they're going to end up quitting because they don't want to, do the same thing over and over again, so they can be moved up to do, a position that uses their talents better, and you can use that kind of cobot, something like that, to lift the 38-pound box or whatever repetitively. So that's awesome, because it is constantly a workforce issue in our industry.
Yep.
Matt, anything you've seen out there on the robot beat?
I echo exactly what she's saying. What used to be the space of the cobot was extremely slow and low payload, and we're seeing those kind of limitations erode, and it's moving up into the higher payloads, higher speeds. Now, of course, they're still collaborative, so if a person were to enter into the space, they would immediately slow down or stop. But you're seeing what are considered collaborative robots that are much higher speed, much higher payload than they were before, or smaller. They're just pushing on the edges of what used to be the limitations of the collaborative. I think Columbia Okura is showing their mini-PAL, for instance. So moving smaller, moving larger, moving faster, just kind of pushing. I guess the lines are blurring between traditional robotics and collaborative robotics.
Well, I agree. And the Winexia one, when I think of a collaborative robot, I think of a tiny little desk robot that's kind of like picking and placing. This is a giant arm, that has an extended reach. So to your point, they're getting bigger. They can do more. There's more applications, and they're easier to use, and they're safer.
Yeah, they can operate with teach pendants and so on. So it's almost, you can, it's to the point where somebody with no training whatsoever can get these up and running pretty quickly.
See, when I think of a collaborative robot, the first thing that comes to mind is the Roomba vacuums and how they go around your house, and that's the smaller application I'm thinking of. Eventually it figures out not to run into me, but now, like you're saying, Steph, you're talking about a big thing that's lifting, 38 pounds. I keep saying that, and I hope that's the number you said. Otherwise, I'm repeating the wrong number over and over again. But hopefully that was it. But clearly they're getting into bigger applications that can then, again, take these things away from people that shouldn't be doing that sort of thing over and over again.
Nobody should be lifting 38 pounds over and over again.
Exactly. Unless you're a weightlifter. Yeah, we'll allow that for them.
Right. And this issue of robots taking away jobs from people, I think we've talked about it over and over, and it's just not the case. People are now elevated to do better jobs, more, they can be programming the robot or the supervisor of a fleet of robots, which is a much better job than lifting boxes.
I love it. And those are 2, 3, 4 great examples of things that people can see out here now. We have some people that are here listening to us in the audience. Any questions you might have for either Matt or Stephanie about anything that they've seen, whether on the show floor or through their coverage of the industry?
And remember, it's only been 3 hours, so.
So I'd love to hear, you talked about the reskilling aspect of the robotics. How have you seen people address this now, right? Because the skill set for the immensely repeatable task versus what you had mentioned as the programming, the immensely repeatable task is drastically different. So have you seen people be able to, transition those workers from, one task to the other?
I guess I would weigh in by saying that, especially with the pandemic, people left their jobs and they're trying to find a new job, right? So they're not going to want to go to a warehouse or to a factory floor and pick and place something, but they might want to be a robot engineer. So it's about maybe the messaging and something that we've been trying to do with this industry for a long time, which is to change the image of manufacturing. It is no longer a dark and dirty and dangerous place to work. It's a great place to work. So with that, the next generation as well, the digital natives, they grew up with, on their iPads and their phones and playing the games. So they want a job where they're interacting with a computer screen versus an assembly line.
Yeah, and I would say you're right. It can be considered a double-edged sword because the job that you're replacing it requires a whole lot more training in a lot of cases. But I think companies in general are making the shift from they're no longer hiring and training operators. They're hiring and training technicians. So it's like the mental shift between operator and technician is what's happening right now. And there's a lot more hours of training that go into it, but it's a double-edged sword, like you said.
And I think to kind of piggyback off of that, it was the first thing I thought of, and Steph touched on it a bit. But when we had a similar discussion like this at PACK EXPO Las Vegas in the fall, we were talking a lot about automation, and a lot of the things that our editors were discovering was that the machinists, the OEMs that are making the machines or designing the machines are incorporating more of a interactive, similar to a tablet type interface, so that it's not that difficult to teach someone how to get up and running on a robot or get someone up and running on automation that 10 years ago would have been much more difficult to explain. So I think that is something that making the machine easier to use and more user friendly, I guess, is something that I think we've all kind of seen.
Yeah, and I was sitting in on the forum session with Steph and Gerard on the Great Resignation, right? And one of the things that came up in that conversation from the audience members was how do we manage all these different generations, but also how do we carve out a career path for them, right? That's really important. It's valuable to this next generation of the workforce. And I think these higher level types of jobs gives them a better path, or they can see where they could be going and sort of elevate their skill set versus, working on an assembly line. So
thank you very much for taking time to sit in with us for this daily download. Matt, I want to thank you for taking time to sit down with me, and Stephanie as well.
Please rate, review, and subscribe. To do that, go to the iTunes podcast or Spotify app on your phone and search for Unpacked with PMMI.